Today, we're diving into something essential, understanding the tangled web of emotions that lie beneath our reactions. This process, though challenging, is fundamental to unraveling how we interpret and respond to the world around us. Let's get into today's topic, unpacking what you're truly feeling. Maybe you've noticed that sometimes the way you react isn't really about what's happening in the moment. You've probably heard the term triggered being thrown around a lot. But what does it mean? Being triggered means that something small, a comment, an action, even a thought has set off a much larger emotional reaction. The true power of this reaction lies in the hidden emotions we haven't yet understood or processed. Let's explore this further through a story you might remember. Think back to Henry, who had a rough day when his boss pointed out some mistakes in his work. Henry spent the rest of his day stewing, calling himself stupid, berating himself for missing details. By the time he left work, he was already emotionally raw. When a stranger accidentally bumped into him on the street, it was the final straw, and Henry exploded. He lashed out with insults and anger, yelling at the person for being careless. But was the stranger the real problem? Not at all. Henry's blow-up was never about the stranger. It was about what was simmering inside him all day. This is what happens when unacknowledged emotions are left unchecked. They build up, looking for an outlet, until a minor incident lights the fuse. The stranger was just a spark that set off an emotional powder keg that had been building since his encounter with his boss. So, what was really happening inside Henry? On the surface, it's easy to say he was angry. But anger is rarely the core emotion. It's often a mask for something deeper, something more vulnerable. Underneath Henry's anger was shame. Shame that he didn't catch his mistakes. Shame that he might not be as competent as he thought. Guilt was there too. Guilt over feeling like he let himself and his boss down. The explosion of anger was a desperate attempt to protect himself from confronting those more painful feelings. We've all been there, haven't we? Whether it's snapping at a partner, sending a sharp response to a friend, or just feeling overwhelmed by the weight of emotions we can't quite name. It's because our emotions are interconnected, layered like the pages of a well-worn book. And if we don't take the time to understand them, we end up flipping to the same page, reacting in the same ways, time and again. What's more, we often misinterpret what we're feeling. For instance, guilt and shame are commonly confused, but they're not the same. Guilt is related to actions. I did something wrong. Shame, on the other hand, is linked to identity. I am something wrong. This distinction matters because how we address guilt differs greatly from how we tackle shame. Guilt can be resolved through apology and behavior change. Shame requires deeper work, challenging the core beliefs about ourselves. But where do these core beliefs come from? Many are rooted in childhood, in the way we were spoken to, treated, and taught to view ourselves. If, like Henry, you were raised in an environment where mistakes weren't tolerated, where you were made to feel small for even small errors, then it makes sense that as an adult, being corrected would trigger a cascade of shame. It's not about the mistake, it's about what the mistake means to you. And this meaning is tied to a belief formed long ago. Take a moment to reflect on this. When you're triggered, what's really happening? Are you reacting to the situation at hand, or is something deeper being activated? When someone criticizes you, do you feel anger? Or is that anger hiding a deeper fear of inadequacy? Do you withdraw when conflict arises, not because of the conflict itself, but because deep down, you're afraid you're unworthy of being heard? Identifying these core emotions is the key to breaking free from automatic reactions. It's about taking a step back, like we practiced earlier with our breath, and saying, what am I really feeling right now? It's about giving yourself permission to look inward and be honest without judgment. Because only when you understand what's really going on can you choose how to respond, rather than simply reacting. For today's exercise, spend a few minutes reflecting on a recent emotional reaction you had that didn't feel aligned with who you truly are. What was the trigger? What emotions were at the surface? And what emotions were buried deeper down? Write it out if that helps. Remember, the goal isn't to judge yourself, it's to understand. Keep reflecting, keep exploring, and remember that understanding yourself is a powerful step toward real emotional freedom. Take care.